What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be checking out a title called WARTORN. We played a very abridged demo of this game about a year ago that allowed you to just play through some of the strategic battles and whatnot, but the game is now officially out in early access, which means it's time for us to do some first impressions and decide whether or not this game is worth your time and your money. Today we're going to be taking a look at it for about 30 minutes. I've played the game for about two and a half hours beforehand, just to get my thoughts in order. I've got sticky notes with things written down all over them. I will condense those thoughts into the end of the video so that you can have I don't know, once again I'm going to use the word abridged. I don't like using the same word twice inside a 1 minute stretch, but here we are. You will find my condensed thoughts at the end of the video where I'll write out a little script and whatnot. This is all live, but the end of the video is usually scripted when I'm closing out my thoughts. But if you've never seen this game before, it is a real-time strategy game with metagame progression where your family, your household, your name, your clan, your coven, whatever you want to call it, has been shattered by betrayal, and they've been spread sticks to the wind, and so you begin a mercenary company with a caravan that travels throughout the land doing good deeds and trying to find your family members, which once again ties back into the game's meta progression that makes you stronger run after run. This game is currently being sold for $30 right now, so that sets expectations pretty high. It looks like they've got a launch discount on the early access that takes it down to about 20 bucks, but the link to the game is down below if you wanted to take a look at the advertising marketing materials that they have up on the Steam page. But let's dive on into it. 30 minutes on the clock. Let's do this thing. So every time you log back into the game, you are going to be inside your family's villa. This game takes place, the main characters are two sisters that are apparently like shield maidens or something else like that. But you start out inside your family estate with it under attack and guys trying to bash down the door. A goddess gave you an hourglass that allows you to relive your final days over and over and over again until you make all the right decisions. This is, of course, the place that you're going to be upgrading, adding more sundries and things like that too to make your future runs more successful. But for right now, I spent up all my currency, so we're just gonna flee into the catacombs, get this thing moving, and start our run. Dude, if I had a giant manor, I really hope that there's a secret door behind the fireplace. That's straight up baller status, dude. I feel like rich people are divided into two groups. People that have money and people that have secret door behind my giant marble mantelpiece money. Alright, those are two different monies. There is a lot of dialogue inside of this game. I'm going to be skipping it during the duration of the video, but the voice acting all seems to be pretty well appointed. The combat feels weighty, and the entire game has been given this sort of visual style where it's almost like you're looking at the game through stained glass or something. Unfortunately, we have enemy contact, so let's go ahead and get ourselves into combat before things start to go sideways. And if you've ever played Dawn of War 2, that's kind of what I would compare this game to. Kind of a simplistic version of Dawn of War 2, but if you've played Dawn of War 2, I think a lot of the mechanical analysis actually holds here. This is a game where you have 4 to 5 squads, and they all have different abilities and stuff that they do, and you take them into repeated combats. You can recruit more than 5 squads, but from what I've seen so far, only 5 are going to be allowed to accompany you into combat, no matter what you do. I didn't take a good look at the final metagame progression stuff, so there may be something that allows you to get more squads than that, but given the sizing of the UI and whatnot, I'm inclined to say that you probably don't. Once you get into the game proper and you're past the intro, this right here is the map table, and unfortunately they don't let you zoom all the way out on it to see what you've discovered, but what's really nice about this game is that you're on this hand-painted map right here, and the first time you go through the map, it's almost like Japanese watercolors, or it's almost like calligraphy when it's being drawn out. So you see this white border down here? That's what the entire map looked like when I first started out, and on the run where you go into uncharted territory, it just looks like a sketch, and then on future runs it all gets colored in, which I thought was actually a really cool piece of graphical flair. For right now, there's not really much to do except for to set out with our caravan to go find our family members, so I'm going to get that going. We have a number of different resources over on the left hand side that we're going to have to babysit while we're on our adventures. It's pretty bad when any of these hit 0, none of that is a good thing. Some of these are metagame currencies, so them being 0 means you're not going to unlock anything on your next run. Some of them are your money and your food. Some of them are your hope, which kind of draws from a Darkest Dungeon 2 style thing, where as you go through events, your hope goes up and down depending on the resolution, and so when that goes down to 0, it's not great. Our wagon slogged through the dense woods, for the main roads would still be more dangerous. Again, as we approach the same thicket of brambles, the same family of lightning lightning mages appeared in the same manner as they had previously. Though they had no memory of us, we again welcomed them to the caravan, where they were met by suspicious glances from the Zickius Rainmakers. Yet mere moments passed before we were once again ambushed by Empyreans. So yeah, there's definitely like a Groundhog Day thing going on with this game, where you're kind of reliving the same events over and over again. Some of the dialogue does change, and some of the observations of the characters do change as you go through the same event back to back or like on different runs, which is kind of like a nice nod to the sort of time loop thing that the game has going on. But before any battle, we've got to pick our squads that are going to go in with us. For right now, we have our heroes. They're the most upgraded out of everybody that I have here. I've dumped almost all my metagame currency into upgrading them, because these hero units right here seem to be a major linchpin in your overall strategy, and if they fold, pretty much everybody else folds, because they're all more fragile than these guys. I've also got a Rainmaker. This game does do a lot of environmental interactions, so like you can put out fire with rain. If enemies are covered with water or standing in a puddle, you can zap them with lightning and you'll get additive effects. If the enemy puts down a giant wall of goo, you can make rain go down on it and it will dissolve. And you are going to have to pay attention to those effects as you get further on into the game. For right now, though, we'll start the battle off and see if we can get ourselves a good start going, because a lot of your wounds in this game, they're not permanent, but they're going to stick around for a while. The game kind of has a semi-realistic approach to battlefield healing, where if your guys lose half their health, it's probably going to be a good solid week or so before they can fight again. Let's go back over here. You guys stop doing what you're doing right now and fall back over there. They're putting up a goo wall right there, which is actually kind of a good thing, because the goo wall should block everything. She stepped in the fire because she's trying to auto-battle. For now, though, what I need is these guys right here to put out a little black rain cloud on the goo over there. And then if you guys can sneak past the fire, that would be advantageous. Nope, they didn't sneak past the fire. They walked right through it. They dropped that in the perfect, obnoxious spot. You guys get to the lightning blasting. Hopefully that melts soon. There we go. And then I can get my melees in here. They have a couple different abilities that I've unlocked while playing the game. They've got like a combo attack over here that hits like a truck. They've also got Retribution's Protection. It will encase them in a magical shield that reflects damage, which is really, really nice. And then I've also got my Meteor Strike over here, which is kind of like my creme de la creme ability. I'm going to have the Lightning Callers drop lightning on these dorks over here. The game does have a developed flanking system, so watch out for that. If your squads are taking attacks on their sides, or if they're taking attacks from behind, they take triple damage, and so watch out for that as well. Another thing that this game does, it's a little bit different from a lot of RTSs, is that if your characters are filing into melee, they don't implicitly damage your characters that are inside of melee, but the attacks will be blocked by characters that are in melee that are friendly, and it may put elemental discharges and things on them, which I'm not sure if I'm absolutely in love with that mechanic or not. Let's get these guys all nice and formed back up. That was a little bit more chaotic than I wanted it to be. Luckily, the game gives you a push to slow time ability, which is kind of hand-waved away by the fact that you have the magic hourglass that was given to you by a goddess. These guys over here, I would like to like drop a bomb on them if I can. Oh, they stopped. I wanted to drop a bomba on them. They threw fire grenades at me too. I'm gonna need you guys to put out that flame right there. Good stuff. The flames are out. These guys don't have lightning damage or anything else like that, so it shouldn't really be that big of a problem that we're sitting around soaked. And so let's get to the exit. And all of the battles are going to be really, really short like this. I would say that my experience for how long your average run in this game is going to be, my longest one was 40 minutes. There's also a setting that you'll want to pay attention to with this title called Dynamic Difficulty. It is enabled by default, and it makes the game easier or harder based on how you've been playing in previous runs. And so if you have a really, really good run, the next run will be harder, and you can watch it adjust the slider in between runs. I tested it. And so anyways, I've got that disabled right now, and I've just got it set to a medium difficulty. But that's going to be one of those things that the game doesn't really tell you when you first start playing. Definitely going to want to keep an eye on that. Now, after battles, your characters do maintain their wounds, and it will take them a little while to heal. If any units die inside of combat, they do not automatically replenish. Instead, you've got to find some idiot mook that wants to come on your adventure with you called a refugee, and then you can use them to swap in for units that have fallen later on down the line. Kind of a bum deal, but it sort of is what it is. I hate it when somebody invites me on a carriage ride, and then I end up fighting in the infantry line. Soon after, we again hear Trouble tossing rocks at other rocks for his own amusement. I mean, that's just That's just good, solid entertainment. When I was a geologist, we used to throw rocks at things all the time. What else is there to do around the campfire when you're like an hour away from the nearest village? When Alani greeted him, he growled that his name was Trouble, Basher of Boulders, and he has no memory of us. We invite him to join our trek to the Recognition Stone. I'll offer him our protection, because if there's one thing a 20-foot-tall troll needs, it's the protection of a couple of 5'4" ladies. Protection, he says with a chuckle that sounds like a growling hiccup. May luck be with you, funny elf females. As he turns to leave, I glanced helplessly at Alani, who suddenly leapt upon his back and began pummeling his head, shouting, "We're good for more than jokes." I leapt into action as well, despite being appalled by her risky decision, and managed to wrangle his ankles. After toppling to the ground, Trouble rubs his head and says, "Fine, you might be able to help me." So Alani's risk paid off for now, yet lack of payment may cause him to abandon us eventually, or worse, seek the destruction of the caravan for the sheer entertainment of it. While he's with us, we should probably sleep with one eye open. Alright, so now we've got Trouble inside of here. I don't know if their name changes around based on like the events and things that you do. I have noticed that a lot of these guys, they get like different modifiers up here in their naming structure, and so I'm kind of wondering if later on down the line, or even now, it's going to change their stats around, but we don't have anything in like green brackets or anything and red brackets to indicate what the benefit of being stubborn is, or what the benefit or downside of being chaotic is. But the characters do look very, very nice when you take a look at them, and they level up, and when they level up, they get like new suits of armor, they get new appearances, they look more sophisticated, they look more elite, which I thought was a very, very nice touch. Inside this menu, you can also recruit to replace guys that get killed, and you can also put them on training mode, which will cause you to drain much more food per day, but they get a little bit of XP every single day that you're marching, and so it's up to you what you want to do with that. Different units eat different amounts. Gigantic units tend to eat more. Smaller units like goblins and things like that tend to eat less. For now, though, let's just get back on the road. I'll praise my food situation later, and let's head to the east. Every time we get to one of these crossroads over here, we are going to have to make a decision about what direction we want to go in. We've got a battle right here at the Recognition Stone that always comes up, and so we'll put Trouble in for this brawl, maybe so that we can use him to, like, I don't know, bait some flanks or something else like that. He's not great for flanking, but he's alright for flanking. What I have found about this game is that it's most efficient with these battlefields to kind of like creep out your melee first instead of having everyone move in cohesion, and try to pull as few enemy units as possible while you're moving on out. Sort of reminds me of XCOM Enemy Within in that regard, where you're like moving one tile at a time, trying to see if you can bait one enemy into base contact before you join the fray. Big dog, get him right there. And then we're going to open on them with a big old... Oh, wow, they got absolutely trundled, dude. They got lamped. Oh, Christ. Okay, get out of the way. Everybody move. Big AoE out. And then we're going to try to get this guy attacked on both sides like so. I'm going to bring them up. One piece of advice that I do have for this game is that the unit footprints right there, when you're doing the Rome Total War style deployment of your platoons, entirely too invisible. Those need to be a lot more obvious, a lot easier to see. I can't tell you how long I've sit around like rotating, trying to figure out exactly where people are going to be standing while playing through this game. Get in behind him so that you get the flank damage. Good stuff. Anytime you see that pink dagger come up while you're attacking somebody, that means they're taking flanking damage. And we will want to watch out for other additions to the combat, though. He's soaked right now. Oh, he's covered in tar, I think. I think I can rinse him off. Oh, no, he rinsed himself off. See, we've got an economy-size ogre bath ready to roll. Let's go down this way and see if we can get to the exit without aggroing more guys. Okay, I aggroed more guys. That one's on me. If you guys want to get your reflective shield up while you're tanking, go ahead and do that. That's fine. You guys come up and around this way because we need you behind enemy units. We accidentally got Trouble. So this is one of my complaints about the game. The rubber band boxes are very, very imprecise. Whether that's due to the game's perspective or what it might be due to, I'm an experienced RTS player. I play a lot of RTS games. It's one of those genres that I enjoy inside the never-ending stream of card games and Survivor-like knockoffs. But I love RTS games. I find them enjoyable. The rubber band boxes in this game, very, very imprecise. I'm constantly grabbing units that I did not mean to grab, even though my box was nowhere near them. And so anyways, that's another thing that needs to be tightened up and changed. We'll get some resources for the battle that we just went through. We got a refugee, which is nice. I'll take a refugee. You never know when you're going to have to replace a unit. As the game gets nastier, the chances are we're probably going to have to replace a unit. If we can get somebody training, I think I would appreciate that. I'd like the bolt mages to train. Let's go ahead and give them a little bit extra food because we're like swimming in ham hocks right now. And then we'll chunk off down the road and see what new adventures await us just over the hill rise. Help from the Harmony. We were glad to reach Harmony's Grotto and once again beckoned our companions to follow us. The Da showed us our Da showed us the location of this place. Alani offers as they open their mouths to ask the question she already knew was coming. We led them to Harmony's Grotto and the pool of healing waters. And so now we got to decide who gets healed. It's either Trouble or our heroes. I'll just heal the heroes real fast. As our wounded drank of the pool, our companions were overjoyed but confused by how commonplace such an occurrence seemed to us. We could tell them that we've been here with them at least twice before, but we knew they would think us mad. So we let them think of us as mysterious and aloof instead. Based on the reverence in their eyes at us and the experience, I think it might help them to trust Adarans faster, and therefore I think the dishonesty was probably worth it. As we exit the narrow passage back into the forest, I was sure it would not be the last time we would visit this place. Alright, off and down the road. Let's continue off to the right. So at these crossroads right here, you're going to see a number of things pop up. Each of these icons is something that's going to happen when you go in that direction. So like over here, we've got a squad battle. We've got a refugee event, so that'll give us more refugees. And then we've got the Fervent Fight Club, which is a place where you can get guys like brawlers, monks, fisticuffs type guys. Down this way, we have a general store, an event that'll give us food, and a battle that'll give us caravan supplies. But before you leave, make sure you always check this thing behind you. We have a mercenary caravan, and so we can buy new units if we wanted to. Water brawlers, these guys are pretty strong. From what I've seen so far, when they level up to like level 2 anyways, they're kind of like water benders. They do all kinds of stuff. Oh, it tells you right there, they're apathetic. They have 20% reduced attack speed. Okay, well that's a good thing to know. We have honorable menders over here, which means if they get flanked, they don't get hit as hard. These guys are resilient, which gives them 20% increased health, which is massive. And these guys are actually pretty good. These guys right here, I think I'll probably take the Brewers because they've got a healing ability that does like an AoE potion that heals people. And I'll probably take the Archers as well. And then from there, I'm probably going to redo my ranks because I haven't been super in love with the water mages that I have. Like, they get better once they get up to rank 2 or rank 3, but like, they're tough. There you go. You can see the calligraphy effect when you go down here as things go from like theory to reality. Our lookouts raised the alarm. Apparently someone picked mealtime to ambush us, thinking that we could not make a hasty escape. Alani mustered our best defenders while I found cover for the others. We now must defend the camp and every last speaker in it who relies on our protection. Okay, so with my current layout, I'm going to get rid of him. I'm going to put them in. I'm going to take them out. I'll put him back in, and then I'll take the archers as well. They've got an entangling volley that allows me to root enemies to the ground, which is actually super helpful for keeping, like, melee pushes off of you and whatnot. It buys you time, and as you get further into the game and you start to have 5 squads to, like, the enemy's 10 or 11, you are going to have to get, like, intricate with the way that you play the game if you want to survive it. Let's dive on into the battle and see how this goes. Alright, so the battle is upon us. Give me my archers over here. You knock down that barricade. You kind of set up over here. You guys set up over here with him, and then lightning mages, I want you down and over here near the rest of the squad. The downside right now is that we don't really have a way to heal ourselves. We don't really have a way to put ourselves out if we catch fire, which is not great. Fire really, really hurts in this game, especially if you're like plant elemental. This game does have loose elemental affinities for a lot of the units, and so pay attention to those. You're going to want to pay attention to a lot of the things that happen in this game. We have an AoE coming in, so let's go ahead and reroute everybody north. Looks like they brought lightning mages with them. Where are the lightning mages at? I do not see them. Sometimes they blast you from off-camera range, and so you kind of got to keep an eye out for them. Ah, there come bad guys over here. Alright, so you guys get in there. You guys also get in there. You guys kind of come down this way. You guys maybe set up over here. And then you guys just give me like a guard on the flanks, I think. Little bit of damage taken right there. Drop a meteor on him. Yeah, meteor worked out pretty well. Put on a damage shield, please. You guys, give me a lightning blast back there just to give them something to think about. You guys, maybe just kind of pepper their lines right there with arrows if you can manage it. And then big dog, I'm gonna need you to chuck me a big old rock at them. You guys come back over here. I'm gonna have you functioning as healers. Go ahead and throw a heal on our heroes. There goes the heal bomb, so that'll be nice. He's on fire, unfortunately, so I need him to pull out of the fire for a second. You guys slash them boys up. There we go. I need these waterbender guys out of the way. If they're not out of the way soon, we're going to have a bad time. We also have lightning mages back there just pelting us. You stay on them, I guess. You blast them right dead in center. You guys move up into the fray. You pull back. Reserve. There we go. We probably want to move. I say it's probably really going to hurt, but the good news there is they hit their own units, so that's pretty helpful. If you can, is your heal back up? Throw your heal on him real fast. And then all of you guys get down here and just start pelting him. You just heal as much as you possibly can before the battle ends. There we go. And we've got ourselves a nice little solid victory. Put some gore on the old Unga Bunga Troll Club. We gathered some scalps. It took a little bit of damage from the wagon, unfortunately. Wish that it had not taken that much damage, but that's kind of the way that life goes. We didn't lose any units, though, which is nice. And we've been given a little bit of coin, a little bit of metagame currency, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We can pick a reward right now. We can increase our sight range. Right now, the game does have a very, very limited amount of the battlefield that you can see. The camera is very zoomed in. I'm assuming that that increases the size that you're allowed to zoom out to, but I think just by default, you should be able to zoom out a little bit further. I'm going to take the coin because I can get anything for coin versus the other stuff, which I can't necessarily get all of. Let's keep them cruising down. It looks like the archers are healed. The Hoarder's Feast. Yesterday, one of our wagon wheels cracked in two when we passed through a particularly rocky patch of uneven, sharp stones. I grabbed my axe and ventured into a nearby thicket, hoping to find a branch that we could fashion into a replacement. I scanned the top branches carefully, didn't notice the large root until my foot had hooked on it. With a yelp, I fell headfirst right through the forest floor. When I got my bearings, I discovered I had somehow gone through a mystical illusion meant to hide a small cave about 6 feet below the surface. A tunnel led deeper in. Venture deeper into the cave. 100 feet in, the cave opens significantly, revealing a large cavern absolutely spilling over with food. Fruit, dried meat, berries, a feast of my own, or a feast of that made my mouth salivate. I guess you could have just said a feast that made my mouth salivate. It feels like we got extra words in there. So maybe some minor grammar and typo issues to be handled too. In the center of the room, nearly buried with bags of flour, was a human skeleton, back broken. I found an open journal. I have done it read. I have my feast. I have protected it with a spell purchased from a Celeste Stig. I shall never go hungry again. The next entry read, the food is spilled, burying me, and I will die here. I cannot take it with me. I mean, it allows me to keep my training going on whoever it was that I had training. Yeah, the Bolt Mages, I think, were the ones that I had training, so that's good. Hopefully, when they get to level 2, they'll get something even nastier they can drop on the enemy, make them feel the sting a little bit. As I was tending to some wounded soldiers, Alani came forward wearing a sober expression. She beckoned and I followed her to the edge of the camp where we discovered a young Adara elf covered in blood. In his arms is an unconscious elder elf. Though he was injured, he was somehow managing to drag the stodgy old elf towards us. My father, he manages through the sobs, was driven to madness by this war, and when he returned from the fighting, he called me a traitor for not following him, and then he attacked me. I could do nothing but defend myself. Yeah, bring him into the camp, I guess. There was no saving the old man. His wounds were too severe. I'm sorry, I said to the young elf. The war has twisted the minds of many. He said nothing and slumps over his father. I thought perhaps it was grief, but he was dead. We discovered a deep puncture wound in his side. Had he not tried so hard to find help for his father, we might have been able to stop the bleeding. That evening, I gave my sister a long hug, thankful that in spite of all the ugliness, the war had not taken her yet, too. Lost a little bit of hope, but in the greater scheme of things, one hope is not really going to matter. We have now officially mapped that zone, so that's good. If we go to the left down here, we can kind of go look for something. It says I've got to go to Tab and Razi, but you can't zoom out on the map or pan at all to figure out where Tab and Razi actually is. I would definitely recommend they add an arrow that tells you what direction you're going in. That way, if you wanted to pursue the main narrative quest, you can. But for right now, we got trinket battles, we've got page events, caravan supplies, a curio dealer. Let's go this way, I guess? I don't know. I'm just trying to uncover my map right now so that when I play later, I've got like a fully uncovered map. Squads are healed. He's looking a little better. Let's take them off of training mode because we're now getting not low on food, but they are burning through my food pretty well right now. And so I'd prefer to kind of like avoid running out of victuals while we're cruising down the way. After an unfortunate beginning, a joyous day this became. We awoke to a rumbling sound that grew louder and louder till a herd of wildebeests came crashing out of the forest. At first, the stampede flowed around the wagon harmlessly until one of the massive creatures near the back of the herd decided to lower its horn and push the wagon out of its path. After a brief yet bumpy and frightening ride, our wagon collided with a boulder and came to a halt. As we emerged to inspect the damage, it was minor. The cause of the stampede emerged from the forest strutting like a queen, though she was covered in tar and speckled with blood. "Clucks, you poor bird," I exclaimed while running to embrace my favorite chicken. Oh yeah, at the beginning of the game, they have a pet chicken. He got lost during the battle, but, you know, now we have our chicken back, apparently. There was a whole bunch of dialogue that I skipped, but we've discovered one of our family members. So every time you find a family member, you get a cord crystal. Cord crystals are used for, like, the major upgrades that make you, like, way stronger. And so you also get a relic that now belongs to your family that'll be inside your house when you start out. You can level this up, and it just gives you a flat chance to get... It just gives you the flat bonus. That's pretty much it. So there's Clucks. And so it looks like every time we start the game now, we get 50 bucks, and we get 2 coins per day while cruising through the game, which is actually not a bad bonus. He's a lucky chicken. A fortunate pollo. We do have a quest over here. I could send out a hunting party. The thing is, when you send out hunting parties, sometimes they don't come back. And so, like, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I'll probably send out the Rainmakers, maybe? The archers would be the smart choice, but the archers are kind of indispensable to me for right now. Because I get to see the comment section and be like, this idiot sent out a wizard instead of an archer to go get the game. Trust me, I have a game plan right now. I've played it enough that I know what can go wrong, and I want my archers to be with me, not on some hunting trip. Apparently, we have stumbled upon an entire house that is made of sweets. It's probably too good to be true. Let's not go in there. I know enough Eastern European folklore to know that you don't go inside the candy house. The candy house is a trap. We decided to leave this strange place, and as we crept back through the forest, we were suddenly set upon by a stig with a huge scythe. She reared back to swing the dreadful blade. Alani dove at her, taking her to the ground before she could complete her attack. "Run, Yara!" Alani urged as she punched the crone in her eyeless face. I hesitated for a brief moment before dashing back to the caravan. Alani returned a few minutes later, out of breath and urging us to leave at once. She slipped my grasp and I ran, but I did manage to get this. She holds up a small purse with 15 coins in it. 13 coins. I know my numbers. I went to kindergarten. Oh, God, I love that free 2 coins per day. Fancy a moment of hunting, Alani asked me in the morning. Looks like you could use a break from scribbling. I frowned at her, but gathered my weapons. No sooner did we leave camp and step into a remote animal trail than a large female troll stepped into our path, and I couldn't help the yelp that came from the back of my throat. "What do you want?" Without a word, the troll pushes aside brush and reveals an old human woman, blood seeping from a gaping fatal wound on her side. "Help, my mother's dying." See if there's anything you can do. Carefully, I knelt against the old woman, noting her pale face and cold skin. The old woman grabbed hold of my hand, gripping it with the last of her fading strength. You can't help me, I was gored by a beast, and I am done for, but you can help my child, please. She'll die if left alone. The troll looks distraught, her massive palms in her face as she sobs. That's your daughter? Kinship knows no blood, the old woman said. Please. My heart in my throat, I nodded. We will take her with us. We got a little bit of that Ori and the Blind Forest thing going on right now. Are they going to bring back the food? There's a warlord battle over here. I don't know how it's going to go. We do have a general store as well. Let me load up on food. So we get, I say we buy that. We buy that. We've got Absolution Salve over here, so all of your units can equip a thing called a trinket that makes them behave in a different way. Sometimes the trinkets are really straightforward, like increases attack speed by 30%. Sometimes they're more interesting, where they do like a little lightning AoE every couple seconds around themselves to deal extra damage. Just sort of depends. I'll probably heal the wagon, though, real quick while we're off and away. We've got a mustering grove down here. We don't really have any money, so I'm going to go after the warlord battle because the video is getting out to 30 minutes right now. So if we die, I don't really care. Our hunting party came back with 200 food, and we got hope from it because they had a bumper crop. That's nice. I think I'll probably have my archers start training since we've been blessed with just an absolute glut of food right now. And so if I can get them training and getting a little bit more XP day after day, I think that would be a good come up. It's always a good idea to pick up food specifically for trying to get your guys up to the next tier, because the next tier will like give them a new ability, and it will also like double how strong they are in terms of HP and how much damage they deal. Another event right there. There were a bunch of refugees joined us and gave us food. I decided to skip it because we're trying to move quickly right now. There is a golden drouse. The dreadful squawk of a drouse awakes us early at camp today. It hasn't been the first time wildfowl has flown into the camp, and immediately some of the refugees set about trying to trap it, hoping to make a meal out of it. The bird is terrified, and I couldn't bear to see it put down so heartlessly. Leave it be, I snapped, catching the snow-white animal. She's harming nobody. Well, you know what they say, man. If you're out hunting and you find a snow-white animal, you're supposed to let it go. That's a sign of good luck. It's a test. You gotta let the albino animal go, and then they'll favor your future hunts. We got $50 for it, so that's good. With Alani's support, I did my best to make the bird as comfortable as could be, and inspecting its feathers, I discovered a nick on its wing. Careful, I used what balm I could to spare to press into the wound, creating a makeshift nest for it by my bedroll. When dawn came, the bird spread its wings, flapping quickly, and with a look in my direction, it soared into the air, leaving us behind, and I wished it well. In the nest, it left us a gift, 2 eggs made of solid gold. There you go, see? What did I tell you? If you ever find an albino animal out in the woods while you're on a hunting trip, it's been a long-standing tradition that you let it go, and it's supposed to bring you favor on your future hunts. Some mythologies even say that it's a goddess walking through the woods. I've heard a lot of different stories about albino animals when you're on hunts. I don't know, I grew up hunting. Looks like we've got a battle. Okay, let's get to it. I think I'm going to leave my squad pretty much where it was. I kind of liked our comp last time, so I'll give that a try. And then while we keep playing the game, I'll give you my closing thoughts, and then I'll end this run. I'll come back in with live commentary, and we will talk about the metagame progression. So, WARTORN. I really want to like this game. I think this game is in a solid 7 out of 10 position right now, and could be improved in a number of different ways to make the game more satisfying. So the big thing that stood out to me while I was playing this game is that this is one of those titles that seems to be very heavily influenced by something like Dawn of War 2 or Dawn of War 3. There's a hefty amount of sort of Company of Heroes style squad management that goes into it. I also actually felt a little bit of Arc-Clash Legacy in here. I don't know if the developers played that game, but it kind of reminds me of that as well, where it's an RTS, but it's got a lot of MOBA elements inside of it, and it's also got a lot of little RPG elements inside of it that need to come together all copacetically in order for the whole thing to work, and I feel like for the most part they've got it bolted down. But for right now, I did find a number of things to be a little bit annoying with this game that would keep me from dumping mad hours into it. There's a couple of things that are keeping me waiting for the 1.0, basically. The first is just that the units don't behave snappily enough for the amount of AoEs that are being spammed. When your melee units have made base contact with the enemy, the guys in the back line are still bombing AoEs on you all the time, and your characters, when sliding around with the enemy and attached to them fighting Rome Total War style, they don't react as quickly as they need to react to get out of that situation and avoid the AoE, which leads to you just taking a ton of damage. I think the friendly fire system that they have in this game is terrible. I don't mind if my abilities or my AoEs friendly fire my own units. That's just part of being skilled at the game. But your ranged units all being blocked by tall units or being blocked by your own melee because after 5,000 years of civilization, elves haven't figured out how to fire a parabola, you know what I mean? Like, I came into this game expecting them to be like the elves of Rivendell at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, firing 1 millimeter away from each other's ears to hit enemies through the fighting line, but it did not work out that way. I would get rid of that system entirely. So your melee characters should not block the auto attacks of your ranged characters. That in and of itself adds a level of micro to your ranged characters, which then clashes with the clunkiness of moving your characters around that I think creates a friction point for the game that needs to be resolved. And the easiest way to fix it is just to make it so your ranged units can auto-attack through your melee lines. That's pretty much it, because most of the maps are too condensed anyways for you to wheel your ranged characters around to the side to actually get them into clear firing lines. And even if the map is big enough for you to pull that off while you're in there, there's usually enemies that you're pulling on accident, XCOM style, when you try to pull that maneuver. And so I would just get rid of it entirely. From there, the game does have unskippable cutscenes and unskippable dialogue, which is going to eat up the first 20 to 25 minutes of your gameplay pretty easily. Other little things like enemies or allies that have grenade attacks, the grenades bounce instead of being impact grenades, so like you can throw a healing grenade onto your troops, but it might bounce off their backs and roll far enough away that the heal doesn't hit them. Just make all the grenades in this game impact grenades. It'll feel a lot better to play. And then, of course, there was a fair amount of my units just standing around and, like, their auto AI just not functioning properly. These are all things that I think need to be seen to before the game is going to be really, really enjoyable to play. The game is close, though. It's got a fantastic art style. The voice acting is fine. The narrative isn't really a focus when it comes to games like this. I think the game is very gorgeous to look at, and it's clear somebody cared when they were making this title from the ways that the units upgrade and become more sophisticated. But those are the list of changes that I have that I would like to see before this becomes a game that I really dump a lot of time into after my 2 hours of playing the game. The game also has kind of like a predictable roguelite loop. Like, there's not really a whole lot of interesting upgrades for this game. It's all like flat stat increases and stuff, and I would strongly recommend looking into ways that they could make the roguelite progression much more interesting and impactful towards back-to-back playthroughs. But it looks like I'm running out of timeline here. So let's take a look at the metagame. Alright, so here we are back in the villa after I spent about an hour, actually, finishing out that run. Looking at my timer right now, I didn't turn off the microphone, I didn't turn off the recording or anything. Inside your villa, you've got a couple of different metagame currencies. So you've got yourself spell scrolls. Every single time you go into one of your campaigns, you can pick one of these spells to be your extra ability, and you level them up utilizing spell scrolls. And so, for example, if you like Meteor Strike, you could upgrade Meteor Strike and make it hit quite a bit harder. Nothing too crazy outside the ordinary here, except for one thing. Over on this side, you can re-equip the main heroines with different weapons, actually, when you go on in, and these all upgrade independently as well. You can make them into a bow squad, you can make them into like a knife assassin squad for flanks, you can make them into frontline fighters, which is what I have them at right now, and on top of that, these weapon sets do upgrade using the threads that you get from each run through the game. On top of that, you've also got the tree over here. The tree is where you're going to get your bare bones metagame upgrades. Everything from how much money you start out with, how much food you start out with, how much you heal per day. All that kind of stuff is here. Nothing too wild and crazy. Basically, all of your core action RPG style Diablo stats and also, you know, management stats can all be boosted up through here to make your games go a little bit easier, a little bit harder each time you play through, with different costs associated with each one. Everything from making your hope meter longer to making you generate more food, so on and so forth. You can also come over here and you can look at your family heirlooms. And your family members that you found artfully, they do all get added as you find people on your playthroughs. Everybody from your chicken to other extended family members will be added on in here, and this will allow you to see the bonuses that you're getting from each of them. You do need to unlock them, though, with each of your shards. So, like, we've got to unlock the chicken, we've got to unlock her, and we've got to unlock her, and now we're getting a lot of different bonuses that we otherwise would not be getting on our run. And then you can invite one of them to come with you, and I think you've got a path to unlock them on future runs. I'd probably bring the chicken, just because the buildup in coin is very, very nice. Your average run is like 200 days long, and so an extra 400 gold on that run would obviously be good. And then you can go off on another run over here if you want to. But that's it. That's my coverage of WARTORN. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you all later. Thank you for stopping on in, and I'll see you tomorrow with something hot and fresh off the indie skillet. Bye, folks.